So before I was into watch collecting, I was very into the retro video game scene, and this is actually just one wall in my house. I have like a whole bunch of stuff here in this game room. I'm going to be showing you some of the things I have in here, but yeah, it was just my first kind of real addicting hobby before I entered this even more expensive addicting hobby of watch collecting. It's just, why does everything have to cost money? Nowadays, I have very little time to play or partake of any of these toys I have in this game room, but it's still fun to admire them and to kind of reminisce about the memories that I've made with my siblings and my childhood friends, just hanging out and getting lost in these kind of fantasy worlds. Now, as a man well into his 30s, it's interesting to learn how in the past, two of my hobbies at one point collided. On one hand, we had video game powerhouse Nintendo, and on the other, Citizen watches. It is 9:26 a.m. Let's get down to business. As always, this episode is brought to you by the Time Teller Shop, the #1 place to find affordable luxury watches. We just did another restock last night, and after this episode goes live, we're gonna put some more watches on the website. Don't miss out. In 1980s Japan, video game company Nintendo was suffering a lull in sales after the initial success of the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was clear the public wanted something new, something innovative, something high-tech, something convenient, and something portable. Now, Nintendo had toyed with the Nintendo Game & Watch series for quite some time, but even back then, this was kind of seen as more of a novelty item. And around this time, the watch world was going through a renaissance, okay? The Swiss watchmakers were trying to keep up with these very innovative Japanese watchmakers who at the time seemed to be willing to take more risks. I mean, some well-known watchmakers went defunct and now they're not well-known at all. And other watchmakers kind of rose to the top. But most of the watchmakers around this time were at least attempting to capitalize on this newfangled battery-powered technology that is known as quartz timekeeping. This era is now infamously known as the Quartz Crisis. And in my opinion, some of the coolest, ugliest, weirdest watches came out around this era, and I absolutely love it. One of my favorite eras when it comes to vintage watch collecting. Now, a byproduct of this kind of cutting-edge, innovative, proto-digital era was that many companies from a bunch of different industries were trying to capitalize and build upon and upgrade LCD technology, something that we take for granted nowadays. And believe it or not, Seiko was actually on the cutting edge of this. As early as 1973, Seiko introduced the LC-VFA, reference number 06LC. This was a waterproof digital watch with a calendar function, and it was actually the world's first 6-digit LCD digital watch. But Seiko wasn't the only company experimenting and again, kind of building upon LCD technology. Panasonic, Casio, Sharp, and Citizen were all scrambling to make something new and exciting for this new digital era. And these were the exact companies that Nintendo executives Gunpei Yokoi and Satoru Okada were looking to work with and engage with, and hopefully bring on to their newest project, codename DMG, or Dot Matrix Game. Now, Gunpei and Satoru famously butted heads throughout this project's lifespan. Their 40-man development team was kind of forced to roll with the punches and just, at a moment's notice, go with whatever shift either of these executives decided upon. One large point of contention throughout the DMG development stage was whether or not the display for this game system was going to be black and white or colored. Now, Satoru thought that a vibrant, colorful screen for a portable gaming system would be incredible and new and something the public would just eat up. But Gunpei Yokoi thought that a black and white screen would be more practical for an everyday portable gaming device. Now, because Gunpei Yokoi was technically above Satoru, they went with the black and white first, so they engaged with electronics manufacturer Sharp to develop a black and white screen for Project DMG. But shortly after, they also decided to talk to Citizen Watches about a new revolutionary portable color screen for Project DMG. Now, Citizen Watches was eager to help out. They were excited to utilize this portable colored technology to put in Project DMG, but once people over at Sharp learned that Nintendo was trying to back out of a prior agreement, Sharp put pressure on Nintendo and Project DMG to reconsider, which ultimately Nintendo did, and that's why on April 21st, 1989, 2 months before I was born, the Nintendo Game Boy was released with a Sharp-produced black and white screen. Now, the world went crazy.
They said it wasn't humanly possible, but now you can have all the power and excitement of Nintendo right in the palm of your hand. Introducing Game Boy. It's portable, it's in stereo, and its games are interchangeable. Plus, Game Boy comes with the outrageous new game, Tetris. And for head-to-head competition, use the revolutionary video link and blow your opponent away. Game Boy, only from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, portable power.
Finally, you could have all of Nintendo's beloved characters, Mario, Donkey Kong, Kirby, and other heavy hitters, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Tetris, even Final Fantasy, in your backpack, in your purse, in your hands, at the flip of a switch. Not to be outdone, video game rival Sega quickly announced their own portable video game device. Now, this one was going to be more vibrant, more captivating, more powerful, and in color. Now, this made Nintendo nervous. I mean, was it going to finally overshadow and outdo Nintendo's success with the Game Boy? Well, on October 6th, 1990, the Sega Game Gear portable gaming device was released. And Sega wasn't lying. It was powerful, it was vibrant, and most importantly, it was in color. Immediately, Nintendo executives scrambled to find one, and Satoru actually got his hands on one. He purchased his own Sega Game Gear and had it taken apart to see what was inside. You can imagine his frustration when he saw with his own eyes that inside his rival's gaming device was a color display produced by Citizen Watches. That's right, it seems like Citizen wasn't all too happy that Nintendo snubbed them for their initial release of the Game Boy, and Citizen was very eager to work with Nintendo's rival so that they could knock them down a peg. Did it work? Not really. Game Boy sales went through the roof globally, and although the Sega Game Gear was cool and fun, the issue is that it was kind of clunky. It was much bigger than the Nintendo Game Boy. It did have a color display, but the sound wasn't as good as the Game Boy's. It ate up batteries. And I think the biggest hindrance was that the titles released on the Sega Game Gear just didn't hold a candle to the titles that Nintendo was releasing on the Game Boy. And then, as years went on, we got things like Pokemon, which just solidified Nintendo as being a handheld gaming icon. So in all fairness, from where we stand now, we can see that Nintendo ultimately won in the end. But I can't help but wonder what would be different if the first Game Boy had a full color display thanks to Citizen Watches. Well, there you have it, guys. A little bit of a different history lesson. I know this wasn't directly pertaining to watches, but it's interesting to learn how a lot of these manufacturers kind of bleed over into one another and how history has shaped the world we live in now. But let me know what you think. What's your favorite Citizen watch? And what's your favorite Nintendo Game Boy game? Well, let me know what you think, guys. Again, leave me that comment, and I will catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman, the time teller, and always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.